time is 7:14 p.m. Welcome to Aurora's Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'll start by introducing the committee members and staff. My name is Clarence Louis. I'm the Vice Chair of the Committee of Adjustment, and in the Chair's absence, I will be chairing the meeting tonight. The remaining members of the committee are as follows: Michelle Boyer, Steve D'Angeli, and Daniel Lajeunesse. The Secretary, Treasurer, Assistant Planner is Prashanti Manoharan. The Planner is Matthew Pavarini. And what I'll do now, I'll go through the process for the application that will be considered tonight. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available electronically on the town's website. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions for tonight's meeting, there's a form that you can complete upon request made to the town. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I'll invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must state clearly their name and address and sign the form that you should have already received. After completing the form, that will become part of the public record. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentation shall be made. If you require any assistance with regards to your presentation, please let the town staff know before making the presentation. Please ensure that all questions and comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I'll request the appropriate person to respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments either from the committee or members of the public, should the committee feel that it is appropriate. Now let's move to item number 1, which is the approval of tonight's agenda. I'll look for a motion. Daniel. The agenda is approved on motion by Daniel. Number 2 on the agenda, declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing no, we will proceed to item number 3, which is the adoption of the minutes from the Committee of Adjustments meeting held August 6, 2020, being meeting number 2006. For a motion, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the minutes of Committee of Adjustment meeting August 6, 2020, meeting number 20-06.
And seconded by Michelle, and all in favor. And that carries. So now we proceed with the hearing of the application. The first application is a change of the conditions for consents, being application C 2020-01. The purpose of this application is to request a change of conditions for the provisional consent, which was granted by the committee, subject to 7 conditions. The property at issue is 1623 Wellington Street East. The committee that approved the 7 conditions was held on March 12, 2020, being application C 2020-01. The applicant is seeking in this application that condition 4 be revised as follows: that the owner enter into an agreement with the town to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services for A, the design and construction of Golding Avenue, including all applicable costs for all necessary services and utilities. to extend existing Golding Avenue to Wellington Street East, and B, to construct and dedicate the extension of Golding Avenue to the town within 12 months of starting construction and provide full access to the retained and severed parcels, including any required access easements to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services. Additional comments from departments and agencies. Engineering Services, no comments. Building Division, no comment provided at the time of the writing of this report. Operational Services, no comments. Central York Fire Services, no comment provided at the time of the writing of this report. Legal Services, please reference Part 3 on draft reference plan as future extension of coding for updated condition number 4B. Accessibility, no comments provided at the time of the writing of this report. Electra Utilities, we have reviewed the proposed variance application and have no objections to its approval. York Region, see letter dated September 1, 2020. I think that's changed to September 9, 2020. We'll go into that in a second. LSRCA, not within regulated area. Ministry of Transportation, no comments provided at the time of writing of this report. Public correspondence, there's no written submissions received at the time of the writing of the report. I understand that there was a letter sent by York Region dated September 9, 2020 to the town, and that we have received. And number 2, there are updated conditions of approval that's in an updated version of an Appendix D. Perhaps we can pull that up so it's in front of the applicants. Either perhaps Prasanthi or Samantha, we can pull up that updated Appendix D, please.
Yeah, just 1 second.
Thank you.
I just need to get it onto this computer. So maybe if we just want to proceed with, I know Nick has a presentation, so in the meantime, I can get Appendix D on my laptop.
All right.
That's fine.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you very much. Mr. Papapetru, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
Would you understand you have a presentation you would like to make? You want to proceed now?
Sure. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Shanti, you're sharing it? Okay, so perfect. I'll do it that way. Yeah, sure. So good evening, everyone. My name is Nicholas Papapetru. I'm Development Manager with Smart Centers. Hope everybody's doing well. We are representing the owner of 1623 Wellington Street East, which is about a 32-acre property outlined in red on the south side of Wellington Street East, just west of Highway 404. As mentioned, we were before the committee in March to obtain, to seek approval for a application for severance. Actually, next slide would be, Prashanthi, if you could. Perfect, thank you. The severance application was conditionally approved, subject to a number of conditions, and created a severed lot, which is outlined in red, and a severed lot and 2 retained lots, which are outlined in blue. One of the conditions of severance, as initially mentioned, required us to enter into an agreement to construct Golding Avenue, which is identified as Part 3. That agreement in the conditions was actually a site plan agreement that we were in the process of completing with the town for a retail development located on Part 2 on the west side of the property. However, since that time, we've decided to pause our retail development on the west side of the property. So simply what we're here today is to ask the committee to consider a slight revision to the condition, to remove the reference to the site plan agreement and just simply allow us to enter into an agreement. Thank you. The proposed conditions on the left side and the existing conditions on the right side of the page. As you can see, the existing condition referenced SP 2018-05, which is our file number for the site plan application. Because we're pausing that application right now, we just want to simply clean up the condition to allow us to enter into an agreement with the town to construct Goulding Avenue. And of course, for us to complete the construction of Goulding Avenue within 12 months of starting it. As you can see on the right-hand side of the page, the original timeline was to finish it before 2020, but obviously because of COVID, things were put on pause. We were actually hoping to start construction of this road this fall. We'll try and get as much of it done as we can now and then come back in the spring to finish it. I've received the revised set of conditions from the town, which included the updated conditions from the region, which were dated September 9th. I think there was a minor typo on those conditions. So, Smart Centers is happy and with those conditions, and we have no further comments or questions. And if the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this point in time.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we don't have any delegates for this application.
Thank you. And any questions from members of the committee? Daniel.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick clarification. Which side, I think you mentioned west, but I'm not remembering correctly. Is it the employment side or is it the commercial side that is on hold?
The commercial side. So it's in my presentation, I think you can see on the left-hand side of the page, is the purple block there.
Okay.
Right now, it's on hold because of obviously COVID and things of that nature. So we're hopefully come back soon to start that. But right now it's on pause. We have an active application with the town for some uses on the east side of Goulding, which is in the blue block. And so that's why we want to move to build Goulding now to prepare the lands for development in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from other members of the committee?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Michelle.
So through the chair, just a question to town. So with the removal of that site plan, are there any issues with that being removed, in that a new site plan will still need to be provided when they're ready to go with that west side?
Through the chair, no, the new condition will reference a development agreement to construct this portion of the road. And whenever the applicant is ready to proceed with the construction or development of the west side, they will just simply resume or restart their site plan process or site plan application that is already in place.
Okay. Okay.
The only thing that will change is you will note that there is an additional condition. It's condition number 7, that the owner enter into a memorandum of understanding with the town, agreeing to pay cash in lieu parkland if required, to the satisfaction of Director of Planning and Development Services. Typically that would be collected through the site plan agreement, but because they are moving away from that right now, this condition is added as number 7.
Okay.
All right, so we now have before us the latest version of the conditions for approval, the recommended conditions for this application. So, again, Mr. Petru, no issues with those changes that were made and shown here on the screen.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the committee? All right, so I'll look for a motion on this application. And Steve.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the requested change to condition number 4 of consent application 2020-04 and recommend approval of all the additional conditions as outlined in the staff report.
I'm looking for a second. Daniel, all right, call the motion, all in favor? All right, that carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Great, so we'll move on to the second item, the second application being 51 Haskell Crescent. It's MV 2020-15. The application, the purpose of the application, the applicant is requesting the following relief from the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 600017 as amended to permit a reduced interior side yard setback for an existing detached pavilion. A, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.2 meters. The applicant is proposing an interior side yard setback of 0.5 meters to the eastern interior side property line. Comments from departments and agencies. Engineering services. Based on the drainage concerns raised, please include the following conditions for the subject variance application. One, that the owner provide a report along with a grading and drainage plan prepared by a professional engineer, providing drainage impact assessment and any associated mitigative measures to demonstrate if there's any adverse drainage impact on the adjacent lands associated with the subject variance application to the satisfaction of planning and development services or designates. Two, that the owner agree in a letter of undertaking to complete site works, if any, required to mitigate the drainage impact on adjacent lands if identified in the above noted drainage assessment report and certified by an engineer to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development Services or designates. Building Division, preliminary zoning review conducted, no comments provided specifically on the application at the time of writing of this report. Operational Services, Parks Division, we have reviewed the documentation for the property associated with the above noted application and have no formal comments. Central York Fire Services, no comments received at the time of writing of this report. Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, the subject property is not located within an area that is regulated by the LSRCA under Ontario Regulation 17906 of the Conservation Authorities Act. Legal Services, no comments received at the time of writing of this report. Regional Municipality of York, the Regional Municipality of York has completed its review of the above noted minor variant and has no comments. Electra Utilities, we have reviewed the proposed variance application and have no objections to its approval, subject to the following comments. Electra Utilities, formerly Power Stream, has received and reviewed the proposed variance application. This review, however, does not imply any approval of the project or plan. All proposed billboards, signs, and other structures associated with the project or plan must maintain minimum clearances to the existing overhead or underground electrical distribution system as specified by the applicable standards, codes, and acts reference. In the event that construction commences and the clearance between any component of the work structure and the adjacent existing overhead and underground electrical distribution systems violates the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the customer will be responsible for 100% of the costs associated with Electra making the work area safe. All construction work will be required to stop until the safe limits of approach can be established. In the event construction is completed and the clearance between the constructed structure and the adjacent existing overhead and underground electrical distribution system violates that any of the applicable standards, acts, or codes reference, the customer will be responsible for 100% of Electra costs of any relocation work. Public correspondence, understand that there have been two submissions received to date. I will just read out the summary of the comments provided. Number one, concerns with water pooling issue in neighboring rear yard. Two, rainwater flows into the rear yard of 53 Haskell Crescent, which has also caused several adjacent fence posts to rot and the fence to lean from vertical. Three, the grading slopes downwards from 51 to 53 Haskell Crescent, exacerbated by the construction of a pool in the rear yard of 51 Haskell Crescent, and there's no swale between the two properties. I understand, and I'll read on the record, there's a change in condition number one, and that is the condition number one that's an appendix to the staff report. The proposed recommendation for the change will be to remove what has been shown in the staff report, to provide that the owner provide a report prepared by a professional engineer providing drainage impact assessment and any associated mitigative measures to demonstrate if there is any adverse drainage impact on the adjacent lands associated with the subject variance application. Now, we have the applicants here tonight. Yes, good evening, Mr. Dario.
Good evening.
Would you like to make a presentation?
I don't have a lot to add other than a 30-second video that just gives the committee an idea of the pavilion in relation to the rest of the backyard. So if Prashanthi could kindly play that, be greatly appreciated. So here's the pavilion. You can see we keep the barbecue in there, and it's tucked between the northeast corner of the house and a large spruce tree on the other side. It's a little jumpy there, but oh, well, you can see the cabana behind the pool, same cedar construction, the vegetable boxes, same cedar construction. And then finally our outdoor living room area. So the purpose behind the video is just to let the committee know that we didn't just randomly pick a spot to put this pavilion. It's part of a larger plan. But unfortunately, we did build it too close to the property line. So we are respectfully requesting a variance.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have one member of the public here, Colin Worley, and his wife, Victoria.
Members of the public who would like to speak on this application? Hey, good evening.
We have one member of the public here, Colin Worley, and his wife, Victoria.
Members of the public who would like to speak on this application? Looks like there's some feedback there. Mr. Worley, would you mind just muting the other feed that you have?
Sorry, what are you asking me, please?
There might be some echo from the other feed that you have. Perhaps you're watching on YouTube.
Sorry, what are you asking me, please?
There might be some echo from the other feed that you have. Perhaps you're watching on YouTube.
I'm trying to do what you ask, but when I do, I lose you on Zoom.
Echo from the other feed that you have. Perhaps you can, if you have the YouTube website open, you just close that, and then on Zoom, if that's all right. Perhaps you can, if you have the YouTube website open, close that, and then on Zoom, if that's all right.
On YouTube, close that down.
Perhaps you can, if you have the YouTube website open, close that, and then on Zoom, right? Any luck closing that? Otherwise, you might try to mute the other one.
I'm trying.
There's a bit of an echo.
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps what you could do is, if you'd like, is just shut down everything and then just come back into the Zoom meeting, and we can wait for the minute or two that it would take, if that's easier. Although it sounds like it's a little better now.
He's on mute. Through the
Ah.
chair.
Yes, and I wonder if Mr. Worley, if you unmute yourself, whether we have still the echo
Unmute.
problem.
Hello?
Hello.
Is that better?
It is better. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have still the echo problem.
Hello?
It's back. But you know what? Why don't we just carry on the best we can? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So we have before the committee your delegation request. So maybe you can just provide us with your names again and your address for the recording, and then you can have your 5 minutes that's permitted for your comments.
There is an echo. It's very difficult to hear you.
Recording, and then you can
It's very difficult to hear you.
For you, Mr. Chair, would it not be easier just to give them a few moments to shut everything down and log back into the Zoom?
I think it's better if I do.
Great, thank you.
For you, Mr. Chair, would it not be easier just to give them a few moments to shut everything down and log back into the Zoom?
Better if I do.
For you, Mr. Chair, would it not be easier just to give them a few moments to shut everything down and log back into the Zoom?
Whether some of the echo might be coming from the applicants, Mr. Therio, or are you okay on your end?
I think I'm okay on my end.
All right. Some of the echo might be coming from the applicants. So Mr. Worley, we await your return if you want to just exit everything and come back and join us again.
I'd like to shut off and come back and join you. I'll do it very quickly.
Yes, we will wait for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. I think.
Minus the echo, I'm happy to say.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right. So welcome back. If you can just tell us your names and your address, and you can proceed in your 5 minutes of your presentation.
Yes. So I'm Colin Worley. I've lived here just over a year. My partner here, if you can just see her, this is Victoria. She's lived here since the beginning, since 1986. So she has good information about the history. Yes, the drainage issue was noticed particularly last year after some heavy rain. And we did talk to our neighbor, Mr. Terrio, and he came and had a look and intended to get his landscaper to see what he could do about it. So unfortunately, nothing has happened. But in the meantime, we've also seen water coming off the roof of the pavilion. So as it seems to us, I'm hoping that Prashanthi has given you this. This is an original plan from, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? This is an original plan that came with the buildings of the house. And if you had this in front of you, it would be very helpful.
Yes, so the committee has received an excerpt of the plan that you have put before us on camera. And
okay,
now we have
that's it. Thank you.
Right there. Perfect.
So just to explain where we are, lot number 74 is 53 Haskell. Lot number 75 is our neighbors, 51. And it seems to me, I'm not a planner, but there has been a change in the sloping of the properties. Number 75 has from south to north a 4% slope from front to back, meaning the back of the house north, and 74, which is 53 Haskell, has a 3.3%. The yard in number 53 is pretty much unchanged except for a few trees that have been planted. So the sloping is still there. But I think the sloping in Mr. Terrio's property has been changed dramatically by what I'm not clear. I'm not an engineer, but partly by the pavilion, I think, and partly by the swimming pool. So there is no swale. There is one at the front, so I'm fully understanding how that works, but there is no swale evident at the back. So water seems to flow from west to east, from 51 to 53, but does not flow from south to north, as I think it was intended originally. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
okay.
We can.
So other than what was written and submitted to you, I have nothing extra to add at this point.
All right. And first, do we have any questions from members of the committee? Steve.
Good evening, Mr. Morley. And just a question: Have you had an opportunity to review the conditions that that staff have outlined in their report? The chair read them out earlier, but I just wanted to make sure that you had heard these and see if you believe that these will address your concerns.
Yes, we have read them. I've got a copy of them in front of me. So Victoria and I have gone through them, and it seems that a professional engineer would be the best opinion to obtain here. And the idea is that that report would be submitted to the town's engineering services, and my understanding would be they would say if they agree with it or not.
Right, and obviously we would get a professional, because I you know, as you stated, you're not a planner, you know, or an engineer, I think is what is required here, and neither am I, of course. And so I think relying on professionals would be in my opinion, a reasonable approach here. And then, of course, the second condition is that the applicant would consent to would provide a letter of undertaking to make any adjustments required to address any drainage issues that are identified by the professional. So I just wanted to make sure that you had read those and also get your opinion. I think that I did visit the site, you know, and you know, the committee members as well have, you know, are all familiar with, you know, the situation, and we have seen the fence and the impact and also the drainage. So, you know, we thank you for your delegation tonight. My question is, do you believe that this is a reasonable approach, what is being, you know, proposed by the town as part of the conditions for approval?
Yes, I think they are reasonable.
Okay. Okay. So just, I guess, a further, you know, question, just to be very clear. So you would be comfortable, should the committee decide to approve the variance subject to those conditions, that your concerns had been addressed?
Yes, only question I would have about it is, what would the timeline be? I have no idea how long these things take. And I'm wondering whether anything could be done before next spring.
I think that's a valid concern. We will, you know, we will take that under advisement, and perhaps maybe we could pause here and maybe ask the question to staff through you, Mr. Chair. Matthew, would staff have any objection and suggestion to a reasonable time frame to complete the work?
Through the chair, we do not have a reasonable time frame, given it's the latter part of the year and there is obviously the colder months. I'm not sure if the applicant will be doing construction. I'm not sure when the applicant would be looking to complete the required conditions. So perhaps it's a question you can ask the applicant.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Theriault, any comments in terms of, and thoughts in terms of when these conditions could be satisfied?
Well, I can tell you we're already speaking to a potential engineer to come do the report. And whatever mitigation measures is recommended, we intend to do, you know, as soon as practicable, because I understand, you know, it should be done before spring, before the water runoff and things of that nature. So, you know, we're prepared to abide by the conditions and, you know, move quickly on them, because we want this behind us, and, you know, we want to restore harmony.
Yeah, thank you. That seems very collaborative and reasonable.
I do have a further question, if I could just put it forward. I'm wondering, once the report is available and the considerations have been made about it, how could we approach dealing with the fence? Because when I went along the fence, it seems that most of the posts are not not substantial anymore. The one that's clearly broken is leaning over our property, but the others are not in good shape either. So I'm wondering if we could maybe discuss dealing with that once the result of the report's done and mitigating, plan put in place.
Through you, Mr. Chair, or do you want to address this?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Morley, that obviously we're taking into consideration the impact on the fence, but I'd suggest that is a discussion that needs to happen between yourself and Mr. Terrio, and if there's any issue, it's not. We're looking at the scope of this committee session is looking at the minor variance application, and should there be any damage, I believe that is a civil matter that must be taken up separately.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do that.
Yeah, but I'd suggest talking with Mr. Terrio and seeing before if that could be addressed without going to those through those channels and avenues.
All right. And any other questions from other members of the committee? Yes, Daniel.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just an extension from Steve's comments and to the town. With all of the recommendations being made both by the town and the professionals, what will happen if the problem is not resolved to the requirement of making sure that the water does not leave one property to enter the next? What is in place with the town in order to make sure that whatever resolution is comes forward here today does resolve the problem?
Through the chair, before I address that in detail, I'll jump back to Steve's earlier comment. There was in the report, you'll note that there was a notice of violation issued for this structure. So any timeline would be tied to that. So in order for the violation to be alleviated, compliance to the zoning bylaw and would have to be met, and that includes fulfillment of the conditions. So the timeline's kind of tied to the notice of violation in an effect. With regards to your comment, Daniel, this would be a bylaw, a property standards issue, a bylaw issue. So it will be bylaw enforcement.
Bylaw enforcement. Okay. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Sorry, Matthew. Through you, Mr. Chair. So further question to staff. So I'm sorry, I can go through and try and find that notice of violation, but Matthew, do you have the timeline handy that would have to be met? And I guess, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Through the chair, I do not have it. I know it was issued to the property owner per the report in July 2020. I can see if I can pull that information in short order, but
sure. Just a further question. So through you, Mr. Chair, question to Matthew. So would that preclude us from, if we were to put a temporal component on condition 1, which is the engineering and any work that's done, would that be in conflict with resolution of the notice of violation?
through the chair, it seems like it may conflict with the notice of violation.
So, okay.
Yeah, they have their associated timelines, because if it's not met in a certain time, as you're aware, they will go to court, or if not, then they'll have to rectify beforehand.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the committee, either to Mr. Worley, and then after that we'll give an opportunity for Mr. Theriot to respond. All right.
Nothing further from me.
All right, that's great.
Yeah,
Michelle.
through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to ensure, Mr. Worley, you understand that if we approve this variance with the conditions, And if the engineered reports and the resultant work that's being done doesn't mitigate the issue, you still have an opportunity to go through property standards and bylaw to come to the committee again.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I didn't realize that. Thank you.
All right, and before we go to Mr. Theriault, I just want to put on the record, we did have also before the committee an email that was sent from a neighbor at 9 Haskell Crescent, John and Patty Juff, Juffs, of the letter of opposition, so that's in the record. Mr. Theriault, any response or comments to those that were made and questions that were asked so far?
About the complaint specifically, or?
Complaints, Mr. Worley's comments and submissions before this committee, and also the notice of violation that was mentioned by staff.
No, I have no further comments other than we intend to fully comply with the conditions if the variance is granted.
All right. Any questions from members of the committee on the applicant? Steve.
Oh, thank you, and good evening, Mr. Theriault. So, no, I visited the property. I mean, it seems I understand you've clearly done a lot of work here. There is an issue with the runoff. That much is evident. I don't think anybody's disputing that. And I commend you. I think we just need to. There is a resolution here before the committee that we will consider, and I will consider. I think what has been made clear here that if we were to approve this subject to the condition, there is added recourse. So I think your approach is actually the right one, just to resolve these issues, and you would have a wonderful backyard to enjoy. And okay, so it was just more a comment, regarding the situation and the evidence put forth before us today.
I guess my only comment would be, as I said, we fully intend to comply. But Mr. Worley did mention that he has mature trees on his property, and the root system has heaved the ground up a little bit. So, my concern is we'll do all these things, and we will do them, but it will not fully address the issue. So that's my concern.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to make my comment through you, Mr. Chair, is just that the situation seems to be that, from what I'm hearing tonight and what I've seen, is there's a problem. There's recognition of the problem, and there's willingness to resolve it. So certainly I think the path of least resistance here, should this be approved, is just working with your neighbor, and you seem willing to fix it. You've invested obviously a large amount of money in a very nice backyard. It's resulted in a problem, but it appears to be fixable, and the conditions that have been suggested to me appear to be a reasonable solution. So, we've discussed, further action with property standards should it not be resolved. I do not see that there should be any need to go down that avenue. I think that there should be a very amicable resolution. It sounds like you've already had conversations with Mr. Worley, and I fully encourage that you continue to do so, because I think there is a really good path to resolution here. Okay. That's all for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. Any other questions from members of the committee? No? All right, so looking for a motion. Only the two recommended conditions of approval is left in the staff reports. Yes, Steve. There you are, mute, Steve.
I guess that would be better. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve minor variance application 2020-15, subject to the two conditions outlined in the staff report and discussed here tonight.
All right, second by Daniel, and call the vote. All in favor? All right, and that the application is approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Therio, and thank you very much, Mr. Worley, for being here tonight. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
All right, so we'll move on to the next application being MV 2020-16, 10 Jasper Drive. The purpose of the application: the applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the Town of Aurora Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 600017 as amended to permit the construction of a two-story addition and a new porch. In response to staff comments, the applicant has revised their plans to increase the proposed minimum front yard setback from 5.13 meters to 5.5 meters. As such, the following relief from the zoning bylaw is requested. A, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 6 meters. The applicant is proposing a two-story addition with an integral garage with a front yard setback of 5.5 meters. And B, section 4.20 of the zoning bylaw states that open porches require a minimum setback of 4.5 meters from the front property line. The applicant is proposing a front porch with steps with a setback of 3.42 meters to the front property line. Comments from departments and agencies. Building division, a preliminary zoning review was completed. Accessibility advisory, no comments received. Operational Services Division, there are trees situated on the subject property and or property line may be impacted by excavation or disturbance due to construction and or demolition. This may result in irreparable damage to the root system and or canopy to one or more of these trees. Furthermore, it may be necessary to remove some trees for the proposed construction. In view of the above, staff recommend that the committee impose condition number 2 as included in Appendix A to this report in the event that this application is approved. Engineering Division, no concerns with the proposed application. Legal Services, no comments received. Central York Fire, no comments received. York Region, the Regional Municipality of York has completed its review of the above minor variants and has no comment. Electra Utilities, no objections to its approval. No public correspondence received at the time of the writing of the report. And now we're looking for our applicant, Mr. Pontiso.
I'm here.
All right, and you got your video, perfect. Would you like to make a presentation on your application?
I don't have a presentation. Recently married, bought this house prior to meeting my wife. Ready to start a family and looking for a bit more space in the house.
All right, thank you. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this application?
Through the chair, we don't have any members of the public.
All right, great. Moving right along. Any questions from members of the committee? Steve.
Just one, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just one very quick question. More confirmation to staff. I was there this afternoon and under the very watchful eye of your dog, Mr. Pontiso, from the front window. I noticed that the front of the house is, from the drawings, it looks like the addition, the demolition of the carport and the addition will be flush with the front of the house. So question to staff, is the house itself in a non-compliant situation?
Through the chair, from the drawings submitted, yes, the existing front yard is shorter than the bylaw provides. I think I alluded to that in the report.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Matthew. And so with the amended request, the proposed addition would be consistent with the existing nonconformity, right? In terms of it would not add to the nonconformity for the building itself.
Through the chair, because this portion of the building is new and separate from the existing, it would technically contribute to the non-conformity. So in essence, this 5.5 meters is just correcting the western portion of the house, or noting it, and considering the proposed addition now.
Understood. So we are correcting a non-conformity situation and approving a similar situation. Thank you.
Yes.
No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions, Daniel? No, and Michelle, no questions.
Nope.
And sir, you have, I take it, seen the two recommended conditions of approval found in Appendix A of the staff report.
Yes.
Yes, and you understand what they are, and you don't have any issues or concerns over those conditions recommended by the staff in the event we approve your application?
No issues at all.
All right. Okay, those are my question. That's the only one. So I'm looking for a motion on the application. Steve.
Thank you. I move that the committee approves minor variance application 2020-16, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Second by Daniel. All right, so call the motion. All in favor of the motion to approve? And oppose? Oh, I think we've lost Michelle again. So I think in the circumstances, we should just wait for Michelle to join us again, and then we'll just call the motion again.
Mr. Chair, I believe we do have quorum, right? So I do.
Sorry, I lost my internet.
All right, I think you're about to. Now let's just do that. So since Michelle has been with us throughout, so we're going to call the motion. All in favor? All right, and the motion carries and the application is approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Contiso. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You guys as well.
And good luck with the family.
Good luck with the house.
Thank you.
And the dog.
Good night, everybody.
That's great. So, all right. So we'll move to the last application we have this evening, which is MV 2020-17. That is 64 Cousin Drive. Purpose of the application: the owner is requesting the following relief from the requirements of the town zoning bylaw 60017 as amended to permit the construction of an attached garage to an existing dwelling. A section 24.497.3.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 1.5 meters. The applicant is proposing an attached garage with a west interior side yard setback of 0.6 meters. Departments, agency comments: building division, preliminary zoning review conducted to confirm the variance required for the proposed work. Engineering services, no concerns with the proposed variance. Operational services, an arborist report may be required as a condition of approval to assess the impact on existing vegetation and explore appropriate mitigation measures. The owner shall provide tree compensation and/or replanting of or for any tree removed in accordance with the town's policy. Electra, no concerns with the proposed minor variance. Central York Fire Services, no comments provided at the time of writing of this report. Legal Services, no comments provided at the time of writing of this report. York Region, no concerns with the proposed minor variance. LSRCA, no concerns with the proposed minor variance. Public correspondence is written submissions were not received at the time of writing of this report. Maybe why don't we start with the applicants, Mr. Charbonneau. We have also Ms. Charbonneau with us. Good evening.
It is really a pleasure to sit in on this meeting. I've enjoyed the process so far. My daughter, who is an engineer, is going to present what we want to do, and I think she's got a brief presentation. So thanks for your time. It's been really enlightening to watch what we do for the city. So thank you.
All right, that's great, Ms. Charbonneau. Off to you.
So, Thanks for pulling up this slideshow. I pulled this together really quickly just to give you an understanding of the property if you're not familiar with the area or if you've driven by. This is a quick overview of the project, which my dad has labeled his pandemic project, similar to a lot of works. I'm in British Columbia right now working as an engineer out here, so I thought I'd help him out on this. That's why it's still sunny. This is just a street view of the property from the road. So it's an existing detached garage and then a one-story structure with a porch at the front and then a small breezeway. There's a large mature tree at the front of the house, a large willow at the rear of the house, far in the back, and then some trees along the property line. If you can go to the next slide.
I think that willow's about 90 years old too. It's a beautiful tree, just so you folks know. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so these are just some pictures of the existing detached garage. The garage and the home were built in the 60s. There is an existing addition. You can see the flat line on the back of the house and then the detached garage. So just give you an idea of space, the proposed garage addition is intended to come back and take up that flagstone patio area as well as attached to the house. And then the existing garage is large enough for a small car, but a large SUV, that a truck is not working. So as of now, my dad's current vehicle can't be parked in it, as well as a lot of more kind of modern day vehicles. We can go next slide. Yeah, so it's within your stable neighborhood area, everything I said. One thing to note is that my dad's noted some deterioration in the existing garage structure, a bit of leaning, and it's just a wood frame, no insulation structure. So yeah, you can flip past this. I said all those things already. So like I said, the proposed structure will extend almost to the rear of the house and be flush with the existing garage front line, so no change in the front yard variance. So it'll be set back from the existing porch. The existing structure is close to the property line, and we're asking for a variance of 0.6 meters. In terms of elevation and desired aesthetic of the garage, it will be not as tall as the existing house. It will be 0.8 meters shorter and blend into the existing structure. So you just go to the next slide. And like I said, these are some things that we think that are benefits. So the footprint will be less than 50 meters squared, no changes to the front yard variance, a west side yard variance of 0.6, which is less than the town's required, which is why we need this minor variance. And then in terms of neighborhood character and aesthetics, none of the trees in the lot are proposed to be removed or impacted, as the mature trees are quite far away from the proposed structure. There'll be minimal changes aesthetically to the view from Cousins Drive, and structure will blend in. The last point is that a larger garage structure will improve the accessibility for vehicles into the garage and actually remove the vehicles from the driveway, which I think is a benefit to the neighborhood character and aesthetic. And that basically summarizes the application from kind of our point of view and what we're asking for.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Great, that's great. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this application?
Through the chair, we don't have any members of the public to speak on this application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? No questions?
Actually, I do. Just one.
All right, Michelle.
Yeah, just through the chair and to the applicant, you've read the conditions of approval in Appendix A, and are you okay with them? Should the application be approved?
The conditions of approval say that an arborist report may be required. How do we decide whether or not that report is required? When do we know that? At what stage?
So,
Through the chair, if the town can provide an answer, please.
Through the chair, that is something the applicant will have to clear with our Parks Division. The Parks Division will visit the site and determine if something is required prior to any permit being issued.
Okay.
And
That's,
That-
yeah,
only-
that's fine. There's no disruption of any of the current trees, but go ahead, Steve, through the chair. I love the
Doing your job.
protocol. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. With your permission, Clarence, I was just going to make the comment that, and I guess clarification to Matthew, these are generally standard conditions, are they not, when there is significant vegetation on the property? So, you know, I believe we see these quite often just to ensure, exactly as you've outlined, Mr. and Ms. Charbonneau, that the mature trees will be maintained. So is that not correct, Matthew? Did we lose Matthew?
Through the chair, yes, Steve, that's correct. They're standard conditions. Typically, when mature vegetation is seen on the property and in general proximity to any construction, these will be added until there's further details.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. No further questions. That was more clarification, I think, to the applicant's question.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And Michelle, any follow-up questions on that?
No, thank you.
All right. And any questions, Daniel? No. No questions from me either. So we'll now look for a motion on this application. Daniel.
Through you, the chair, I'd like to move that we approve the, sorry, my computer just froze as the numbering was needed, that we approve MV 2020-17 with the conditions as set in the recommendations. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Michelle, and we'll call the motion to vote. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Your application's approved, and thank you for the presentation, Ms. Charbonneau. And I'm sure your dad's happy to see you and put you in action.
Thank you very much, folks. It's really been a pleasure and very, very interesting to watch. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Thanks very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. Bye now.
So moving on to the next item of the agenda, do we have any new business? Nope. And so we will then move to the last item for an adjournment of this committee meeting. Daniel and Michelle. So motion to adjourn the meeting carries, and we are adjourned. Thank you.